Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're located at. Today, we're going to take a look at unlocking the power of MIS and distributed marketing, two very powerful tools that, when combined together, can add a lot of value to the organization. We're going to spend a few moments here just taking a quick look at today's presenters. I am yours truly, Robert Hancock, over there on the left. I'm part of MarcomCentral, which is a RICO company. I really manage the business development side of the house. So my role is I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of different folks from a lot of different industries, and they get to share with me how they're running their marketing operations. In all of these conversations, I get to hear a lot of how different folks are doing different things. And that's really why we wanted to bring these two technology components together today, because there is a lot of value. And then later in today's presentation, we'll also be joined by Brian Jackson, who's part of my team over on Marcom. And then we have Josh Perkins, who's part of the Avanti team. So let's take a quick look at today's agenda. Really the big question here, why are we having this today? Why would you go ahead and integrate your software platforms? Why would you integrate these two software investments? We're going to give you a brief overview of MarcomCentral and Avanti Slingshot. There's going to be, I know we've got kind of a mixed group today. There's some folks that are joining us who are Avanti customers. We've got some Marcom customers, and I believe we also have some folks that may not be familiar with either one of our solutions. So we want to be able to give you at least a high-level overview and share that with you. The bulk of today's presentation is going to involve a demonstration. Brian Jackson will be providing that demonstration and speaking to it along with Josh Perkins. We really want to be able to showcase the technology and the solution live for you. We're going to talk a little bit kind of throughout the presentation today as far as integration partners. Both Avanti and Marcom, both RICO companies, we both have a number of different integration partners today. We're going to really showcase the two of us working together. Oh, and of course, we want to talk about what's the benefit to you as the customer. Where is the value in utilizing both of these solutions in your operations? We've got a little bit of time set aside for Q&A today, and then we will go ahead and wrap up with some key takeaways. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. Why would we go ahead and integrate these two software investments? Where is the business sense in doing so? Well, there's a couple things that we're going to touch on today, and really kind of one of the overarching themes is we're going to be able to streamline our productivity across your operations, right? There's a number of different components here, and when you can pull all of those together, you're going to get better visibility into your operations. You'll be able to streamline things and make better business decisions. Which kind of leads into my next topic, which is going to be really improving that workflow efficiency, right? A minute here, a minute there. When you look at that over the course of a year in terms of operational costs, there can be significant savings there. And obviously, both of our organizations and RICO and as a whole, one of our concerns when we talk about our marketing services portfolio is really we want to maintain that brand consistency and that brand awareness throughout your customer's journey. This again is kind of goes along with the streamlining of processes and workflow efficiency, and it's really coordinating efforts, right? How do we optimize our resources? In this day and age, every organization is impacted in some way, shape, or form by the economy, right? Everything costs money for you to bring it to the table. So being able to identify weaker areas in your operations and strengthen those is going to result in increasing your bottom line. And kind of as where I left off on that last comment, with everything in this day and age being so real time, your ability to look at a problem that's occurring, identify where it's at, and correct those issues in a timely manner is going to improve your business operations and drive overall efficiency. And really, what do we want to do? We want to try and eliminate bottlenecks and waste. The more that we can do in this area allows us to apply those resources within other areas of the operations. So let's give, for those of you who may not be familiar with MarcomCentral, let's take a few moments and get you up to speed on kind of where we sit from a technology perspective. And we've basically broken this out into three different pillars, if you will. So let's start with our first one, which is going to be centralized. Really what we want to do with our technology platform is we want to empower the creative team members, the marketing and the internal operations folks with what they need on a daily basis, right? So they need the ability to handle their digital asset management. We really need that single source of truth, that single repository where all of our assets reside. We tend to see in a lot of organizations, there's a lot of sprawl. So assets are in different locations. There's a lot of different silos. This can impact overall efficiency of your operations. This is really when we talk about the centralization, this is going to be really where we start the building blocks of the organizational tools, right? This is where all the creative energy is applied, with the result being a finished product that's going to drive business for your organization. And that just kind of wraps up with the ability to control all of these assets. So now that we have everything in a centralized location, we're able to manage it. Let's talk about what we can do with it, and that comes into customization. So who are we talking about when we start talking about individuals within an organization that are going to have interaction? This is going to be your field teams, your distributors, channel partners if you have that type of business model, and maybe someone involved in external operations. So really, what are we talking about when we get into the customization? What MarcomCentral provides is a web-based portal. It's persona driven, so there's intelligence within the system. It can be identified by the user or the group that person is associated with. Again, we're trying to streamline operations and make things more efficient. What are we doing here? We're really making sure that we're maintaining that brand compliance. We're giving folks the ability, we're giving them on-demand access to approved marketing and sales collateral, but we're doing so within the brand guidelines. So we're locking down that customization, only giving them what you feel is deemed appropriate as far as customization. Now that we have all of these assets and they've been customized for the specific use of the individual or the end user, what do we do with them? Well, we need to distribute those, right? We need to get that message out to the different end users, that people we want to consume our message. So how do we do that, and who's involved in that? This could be your in-house production team. Maybe you have an implant operation there, or maybe you're sending things out to a print service provider for fulfillment. This could be where you also are doing some type of co-branding or partnership with your different vendors, or maybe you're involved specifically in fulfillment operations, so your fulfillment organization. This is where we start talking about the multi-channel distribution, right? Whether it be digital or print or social. With MarcomCentral, we have a number of different components that come in here as well. Now, not all of these would be utilized by every enterprise or every organization, but I do like to make sure that people know what options are out there for them to leverage. So we can start having a discussion around things like e-commerce, credit card processing, automation of your workflow. That's obviously a big topic item for today. And then web services. And then we kind of wrap up with the analytics and reporting, because really it's wonderful that you've created all of this great content and this messaging, and your folks have access to it, but we want to understand who's consuming it, what's working better than another asset, for example. And we also want to see how your users are interacting with the system, right? This gives you an opportunity to take someone who's maybe not as successful as one of your other sales folks or one of your other representatives and get them up to that level, right? By making sure that they're using those effective sales tools or those effective marketing tools. So hopefully that gives you kind of a good high-level overview of kind of the three pillars of MarcomCentral. I'm a very visual person, so let's kind of take a quick look at a graphic here, right? Basically what we have is a visual depiction of MarcomCentral. This is right here is Marcom Portal, or MarcomCentral as we call it. Using a Terminator analogy, it's Skynet. It's running everything in your distributed marketing operation, right? So what is it actually running? So it's in charge of managing and distributing all of the different assets. Now, assets could take a number of different forms, right? They could be digital, they could be proposals, emails. I won't read all of these to you. Obviously, brochures is a very common one. The outer ring here depicts who is going to be interacting with those assets or that content, right? So it could be someone in your channel partner. Perhaps you're a global enterprise, so you have multiple locations. Could be your salespeople. Maybe it's an agent. Maybe you have different vendor relationships, or your regional marketing teams. And then obviously at the end of the day, once we have all this content, kind of that third pillar was the distribution of those assets. So maybe it's something that we're sending out to a vendor for fulfillment. Maybe it's something that we're giving them access to for a download. Or maybe it's something that they want to go ahead and digitally distribute to one of their potential prospects. So hopefully that gave you a good high-level overview of MarcomCentral and our distributed marketing platform. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over, and we can talk a little bit about Ivanti Slingshot. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Josh Perkins. Josh, would you like to go ahead and step in and tell us a little bit about Ivanti Slingshot?
Yep, thanks, Robert. So Ivanti Slingshot print on mass, for those on the call that aren't familiar. First and foremost is the focus is the automation of the business workflow. We, of course, today are focused on integration specifically, but automating the workflow itself through the integration of multiple systems. And that's all to streamline print production and business operations. So everything from start to finish. Being able to automatically create orders from the storefront and push those orders, create or turn on what we refer to as levels of automation through the business and production workflow. So be able to create the order automatically in the first place, but then turn on automations such as automatically releasing to production, scheduling, export to production, collecting costs, etc. It's all about turning on levels of automation or pieces of automation within the workflow to balance that order and across multiple lines of business. And that's from everything from the estimating side through RFQs or estimates, and in the order processing, job processing, fulfillment, shipping, billing, shop floor data collection, etc. And that's in order to remove manual touch points and potential for error. And that leads us obviously into integrating. How do we actually perform or get to that point where we can turn on or proceed with a fully automated or touchless workflow? And that's with integrations, such as the one you'll see today with MarcomCentral to automatically not only create orders, but also utilize what we refer to as dynamic pricing and inventory sync between the two systems, and push back of status information so the whole process is automated and provides the end customer, the buyer, with real-time information, as well as the CSR, of course. And being able to remove those breakpoints in the workflow, those bottlenecks, through these integrations and through these pieces of automation or layers of automation, gives you the ability or the additional capacity for more jobs, provides the data all in real time as opposed to waiting for, let's say, shop floor data collection or for CSR processing within the workflow. And of course, it's scalable. So the Avanti system itself is modular. As I mentioned, you can add modules to the system as needed. You can scale them by multiple divisions, and of course, additional pieces of automation and features or functionality, modules within the system like billing and shipping, shop floor data collection, integrations, etc. And it's really meant to tailor the solution specifically for your job. And as Robert said, to give a sort of a high-level understanding or overview of the workflow, the business workflow within the Avanti Slingshot system, for those that haven't had much of a drill down into it just yet, really gives you that automated workflow, that touchless workflow is the intention from finish, including real-time job cost and tracking, integrating with production systems, material tracking through either shop floor data collection or integrations to actually get real-time production data like time and materials back from production systems. And of course, actioning that data through dashboards, through reports and visuals like the estimate or budget versus actual cost to track and action data based on real data coming from production, comparing that to what you're actually quoting. And then fulfillment and tracking as well. So a whole ability of the Avanti Slingshot system to manage multiple lines of business, even within the same order. You may have a single order for services, for finished goods, for ad hoc production items, or templatized products as well, all within the same order, and be able to track those individually, stage them together for shipping, and then billing as well. And of course, that all leads to the ability to actually visually see through the business intelligence modules like reporting, like what we call triggers and alerts, which is email notifications and dashboards, being able to see all that information in real time. And so what we're focusing on today is the integration with or between MarcomCentral and Avanti Slingshot. So I won't get onto every single step within this workflow, but effectively or essentially, the order is coming in from the MarcomCentral system, the customer placing the order. That may be for an item, for like a finished goods item, let's say t-shirts, for example. It may be for a product that is either something that's predetermined, pre-built within the Avanti system and the MarcomCentral system, or maybe it's an ad hoc type of order or item rather that the customer is uploading their own PDF. They need a certain number of copies, and they can choose certain options within or for that product to place within the order. There may be one or more shipping addresses specified on the order. All of that information gets fed into the Avanti Slingshot system. Avanti itself has two APIs. One is related to inventory, you see it on the left there, and that provides what we call the inventory sync functionality, something like finished goods. Maybe you produce a million or tens of thousands of an item for a particular customer, and then that customer can go in the website and see how many they have left to order that haven't been fulfilled already. That's one example of the use of that API through MarcomCentral. And the other API related to not only creating orders as those orders are submitted, but also providing what we refer to as dynamic pricing. And that is utilizing the Avanti Slingshot system as the pricing engine for MarcomCentral, the products in MarcomCentral. And that is for any type of item, whether it's inventory, whether it's ad hoc items with specific options, or templatized or static products as well. And that it gives the ability to utilize and set up pricing in only one system, so that pricing is consistent through the system, and reducing obviously the maintenance of setting up and maintaining that pricing engine, because that could include things like customer-based pricing, could be volume-based discounts, things like that, all set up within the Avanti Slingshot system. And you of course want your end users to have that same pricing available without having to set it up again within the MarcomCentral system. And then the integration or the rest of the workflow kicks in once the order is placed. The order is managed by the Avanti Slingshot system throughout the production and or fulfillment process. So a couple of line items, one requiring production, one requiring fulfillment and picking, managed within the Avanti Slingshot system. Avanti also has the ability to send jobs to production using JDF and then collect actual information costs and inventory usage back from production systems as well, all feeding back into the job itself, collection of actual costs, along with shop floor data collection, of course, as well. And then when the job is shipped, we're actually sending the shipping details back to MarcomCentral so that the customer who placed the order can see the tracking numbers, that the status has been, in fact, their order has been shipped and released on through with the carrier. So that's a summary or high-level summary of the integration workflow between Avanti Slingshot and MarcomCentral. So we're actually going to jump now into a demonstration of the workflow itself. This is just an overview of what I was just describing there, but being able to streamline or add the levels of automation to that workflow that we just talked about, reducing bottlenecks, creating that efficiency, and maximizing productivity and profitability. So being able to utilize that information generated and collected by the systems, even through the business and production workflows that are coming back into the Avanti system, being able to action that data from the integrations. So we're going to jump into a demonstration of that integration, the example of that workflow we just showed. We'll turn it over to Brian, and we'll start the workflow in MarcomCentral, or the demonstration in MarcomCentral, and what that looks like, and then we'll jump over into the Avanti system to see the result back in Avanti.
All right, my name is Brian Jackson. So what we have here, some of you may have already seen that are current MarcomCentral users, but for those of you that have not been introduced to it yet, MarcomCentral is an online marketing hub where you basically can centralize, customize, and distribute all of your marketing assets while maintaining those brand guidelines that you've worked so hard to build, right? So what we have here is a fictitious financial company called Jensen Financial. And one of the important things to keep in mind in this portal is that everything that you see here is 100% customizable by you. This portal can be designed any which way you see fit and may even reflect different design experiences for different user levels and group permissions that you wish to set up in a single portal, right? Another key feature is that no matter how you design it, it's going to be 100% responsive. Right? So whether I'm on a mobile device, a tablet, or a laptop, it's going to respond appropriately to the screen size that it's being viewed on and can be used with a mouse and touch equally well. So what we're going to do in the case of this particular demo is we're going to go ahead and jump in here to our brochures and flyers category. And what you're going to see on the left-hand side are a series of what we call advanced search and filtration facets. Now, one of the themes of this demonstration is combating file sprawl, right? So in this particular category, this is just a demo site, but let's say that you had hundreds or thousands of assets in a single category, and you need to search through them very quickly. So to combat that file sprawl, these tie back to the metadata of your templates and allow you to sort through them very quickly. So you could say, well, gosh, I did something that it was a couple years ago. I don't really remember, but it was for a new employee, and it was a static piece. So there we've gone through many, many assets to one in just a few clicks. Going back to the overall search, you can search by keywords and you can get best results. Because if I search for something generic like brochure, I don't necessarily want all the brochures that have ever been done, but maybe the top results for them that have been rated. So that's something that can be optionally applied as well. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and search by something that isn't even present in the name, but is part of the ID number. So you can find your destination in a myriad of different ways. Here we are at our Jensen Financial co-branded brochure. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And this is the item that we're going to ultimately be pushing over to Avanti Slingshot. So here you notice I have a few features. I can add this to my favorites, and the user experience for me will be different than a user that might have other permissions, other favorites, etc. But the ratings, if you choose to use them, are cumulative. So here we have a description, we have pricing, lead time, etc., etc. All that again is customizable by you and can show different results based on different user groups. For instance, one user group may be limited to one item that is low res and has a watermark and requires an approver before it is sent to the printer. Another item may skip all that entirely and allow you to choose a range of different numbers you'd like to order. But let's go ahead and customize this. And what we're going to see here is that within this PDF, and it can plug in, it's a plugin for InDesign and Acrobat, but within this PDF, we have selected certain things that we're going to thread data through, whether it's images, whether it's coming from a spreadsheet, or whether it's things I can just type in by hand or pick from a dropdown. You can open this up or lock it down to protect your branding guidelines how you see fit. We can also build in things like choice consequence models. So you'll notice here, if I choose investing, I get different gallery options. But if I choose the banking division, I have these other marketing approved images that I can choose from. I could also open this up to allow people to upload an image. I could set certain size parameters, enable cropping, rotation, etc., etc. But I'm going to go ahead and choose this fellow. And this headline, here, you'll notice that I have one simple field, a location, an office location. However, choosing that ties back to one spreadsheet that then gets that office location's address, address to, city, state, zip, phone number, website, etc. This all goes back to one simple spreadsheet, and that one spreadsheet can be tied to many, many templates. So you don't have to redesign tons of collateral if, let's say, the Solana Beach office moves across the street, or if a disclaimer changes, or if a bio for a doctor or professional changes. You don't even have to know any coding. You just pull down the spreadsheet, make a change to one of the cells in a column, upload it again, and now you're within compliance. We can also show and hide fields. Certain users you may want to be able to co-brand, others you may not want them to be. Which brings me to another caveat. You have unlimited users within our system. So you can have as many users and set permission levels however you wish. So here I have a gallery of, again, marketing approved logos that I can choose from. And I have some open fields where I can type things in. So here we are. I can choose from a library that can be used and linked to multiple templates. And I can enforce certain character count limits and formatting controls. For instance, any phone number that I add, maybe my branding dictates that I don't use dashes, I use dots instead. Watch what's going to happen. It's going to thread this data through and it's going to format it based on my specifications. So let's go ahead and preview that. And what we're going to get is we're going to see all this information that's on the left has now changed my template that now previews on the right. This gentleman is pictured here along with the headline that I chose. I can zoom in. And again, I can do all this via touch on a mobile device as well. And you can see that my Solana Beach location has pre-filled. It's honored the font, the color, the leading, etc. from the original InDesign document. But also, it's imported my co-branding information and it's converted those dashes to dots as well as putting in my little logo here. Now, in order to avoid repeating this process every time that you order, you can also save and load pre-fills that are unique to each individual user. I'm going to go ahead and use this pre-fill, redesign that preview, and you're going to notice some changes because with this pre-fill, we're showing some credit cards and we're doing banking in LA. There we are. That looks good. So let's go ahead and hit done. We have some options here. Again, this is customizable to you. You can share it out via email. You can control the output options here, including the resolution. You can download it. You can add to cart, save the draft, and come back for later. And you can also set up the approval process to come into play here as well, where they have to require approval from an admin before they proceed. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add to cart. I'm going to order a quantity of 250. And I'm going to go ahead and when that looks good, I'm going to see a thumbnail at the top right. I've set up a user budget that it can pull from. I have a nice little snapshot. It's customized the SKU based on my choices. It looks good, so I'm going to proceed to checkout. We have a very flexible checkout window, which allows you to control shipping addresses, various methods of payment, set up job tickets, packing slips, pick tickets, use credit cards, set up various delivery options, cost centers, et cetera, and you can decide who you want to grant access to various things based on user level permissions as well. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the order details. And if I've made a mistake, it's going to highlight that in red before I'm allowed to proceed. Here, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and review and confirm. And I get a nice little confirmation thumbnail here with what I've done, along with all of the information that I've input into for the shipping, delivery, payment, etc. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the order. And what's going to happen now is I'm going to get an order number that is placed within my order history, and that order is going to get thrown over to Avanti for them to run through their MIS system. And while that is being done, we see here that everything that happens within the portal is tracked with our business intelligence plugin. Now, everything you see here is granular, so you can drill in to the non-customized, the customized, how it's done over time, asset by usage, your brand control, user performance, order summary. If you have Google Analytics, you can plug that in here as well as we have full reporting on all your transactions, SKUs, etc. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and step out of the MarcomCentral demo and turn it back over to Avanti.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So as Brian said, the order, as part of the integration, is the sending of that order over into Avanti Slingshot. And you can actually see it's already here. We have an example here of that order that was just placed. And what is actually sent is, well, all of the information about the order, but includes down to those options, including the calculation of price, including the details of the selections made by the user, including the document. You can see how the order has been automatically built, and I'll get into the levels of automation that I was talking about previously in a second. But this order has been built without any user intervention. All the address information is in there, the line item information, what was actually ordered, the price obviously is calculated, down to the section details. So all of this information has been built and calculated by Avanti based on what's been ordered and the options selected by the user. And in this case, it was a work template for those familiar with the Avanti Slingshot system, but there are different types of line items. In this case, it was a work template, meaning a customizable product. We have the ability to specify services, finished goods, obviously inventory items, static products, which are linked to work templates but have a predetermined price, for example. Maybe it's customer pricing. In this case, it was the SKU itself was a work template, which was specified in the XML and matched to the work template for the co-branded brochure, as you can see there in the Avanti system. So everything's already been matched up. And the way that works is there's a mapping process between the two systems based on how you have your items set up on the Marcom side, and it maps to the SKUs or the work templates in this case that are on the Avanti side. But the pricing is all coming from Avanti, so you're just setting up the same items or similar items in both systems. And as I said, you have the ability to drill down. Of course, this order has already been released to production, but I can show you the information that is populating anyway before we get onto the automation. It's all of the details related to production. It's the management of the production process in this case, or the fulfillment process, for example, if there was also an inventory item or finished good, for example, on the order. But you have all the information related to the production of that item, how it's going to be laid out and folding and ink. Any user that are familiar with Avanti Slingshot system will be familiar with these areas, but it's doing all these calculations, substrate, press runs, etc. And this information, along with the task information down here, is what generates what we refer to as milestones. And the milestones are the operations required in production for the processing of that job. And they could include a number of things depending on what it is being produced. There could be one or more sections. The sections are the components. In this case, there's one component. It's just a brochure. But if it was a book, for example, maybe it has a text and cover and assembly components that all carry their operations required for production. Handwork. In this case, you can see some of the tasks down here include proofing, pre-flighting, obviously printing, binding, staging, etc. But all the calculations are built into the system based on your own devices. And that's where these calculations are coming from, not just for price and cost, but also for time. In this case, the order has actually already been released. You can see the order status is released. And that is one of the pieces of automation that can be turned on. So once you get the system, the integrations workflow set up as you want, you don't need to necessarily, or don't want to necessarily, touch every single order coming through. It's as quickly as possible. We want to push it through to production. In this case, we've turned on the automatic release of the order to production. So it's already created the job and sent that down to production. Maybe it already printed. There's additional automation you can turn on to print job tickets automatically. They come out on the printer. In this case, it also has the order also has the document that was generated by the Marcom system. If I download that document, it's just the PDF. Yes, of course, use Acrobat. There's the PDF that was generated from Marcom. It's attached to the order in Avanti, and more specifically, it's marked as for job, and that's important for other integrations in the workflow, for specifically production integrations. So any files attached or associated with the jobs, and you can see there's a line item associated, or maybe more than one, right? More than one section within each line item. They're already associated with that particular order. So those are what may be sent down to an integrated production system as well. Workflow system, press front ends, DFEs, etc. automatically, and including not just the file, but all those details for production that you saw in the section. In this case, we've already released it. What we haven't done, and maybe you don't need to, is turn on automatic scheduling as well. So based on the details of this particular order. It has generated a number of milestones. These are all the operations required for this particular type of item, the co-branded brochure in this case. You can see we've included some related to pre-flighting and soft proofing and approval and rejection. We have integrations and live proofing modules for proofing that link into to send off proofs to the customer. We also have, it looks like, pre-press generated here for pre-flight, and then of course printing, cutting, and you can see over on in the time needed column, it's generated the amount of time for each of those operations. Pretty quick job, 4 minutes on the press. But these types of jobs wouldn't necessarily require scheduling. Longer runs, maybe you do, but based on the type of work, have it automatically schedule as well in the scheduling system in Avanti based on the press capacity and the expected ship date or due at customer date. That's all tracked within the system as well. The point is that these milestones can also trigger the integrations with the production systems. So say, for example, it gets down to the printing milestone. You've completed all the pre-flighting processes. The soft proof has been approved. The press milestone is marked as ready. The system can automatically then send the job off to production, the RECO device in this case. So all of those layers of automation can be turned on. And once you enable or initiate an integration, send a job to a production system, if that system is also capable of sending production details back, we then collect those. We collect time, status, of course, whether it's done printing, what the progress is, based on all these milestones that have already been generated from the job or on the job, as well as inventory. So if the press is able to report back how many sheets of a particular paper was used, it will deduct inventory within or adjust inventory within the Avanti system as well. And all of that's visible within the job view. Here's another view of that same job. You can see it's still open. There's other ones here that are scheduled. And then again, I could drill down into the milestones and see the individual status. If there's other ones in here that have been scheduled, other jobs, you can see some of them are on the schedule, some have been completed, etc. So all the status is down at the granular level to those individual operations. And there's different views within the scheduling module, for example, to see that status and that progress you can see here in this sort of summary, the production job view. There's additional functionality within the system related to inventory management, purchasing. We have planned purchasing, scheduling I mentioned. But once we get to the shipping process, let's say, for example, we've completed this particular order, I can go ahead and ship it within the shipping system. We also have for sort of distributions or the automation of the shipping process itself. We have the ability to automate this through something called batch shipping, which will automate or automates for a large number of shipments what I'm doing here. But I'm basically just saying, okay, I'm going to ship this item. All of the information related to how it's going to ship or how it should be shipped has already come across from the order. There's the order, the quantity. I can go even down to the carrier level and integrate with carriers, UPS, FedEx, USPS, etc. And actually get the tracking numbers and labels and cost, published rates, negotiated rates back from the carriers themselves. I'm just going to go ahead and put a tracking number in here and confirm the shipment just so we can see the rest of the workflow. And at this point, when a shipment is confirmed, not only is it marking the job as complete, if it hadn't already been marked as complete in production, but it's also sending the information back to the status that has been shipped back to the Marcom system. And all of that's tracked within the workflow as well. So you can see now that shipment is marked as confirmed. If I go back to the sales order itself, it's now completed. I've shipped everything. You have the choice of tracking it down at the individual operation level or assuming, and you can see that this is how it's set up in this particular system, assuming that if it's fully shipped, obviously all the production is complete. So it's going to collect or mark all the milestones as done and mark it as 100% complete. From there, we have additional module for billing. So if you're a commercial shop and you need to bill as well, we have invoicing and batch invoicing. We also have contract invoicing for inventory and billing for things like inventory warehousing and usage or fulfillment process, pick charges, etc. And then accounting integrations to be able to link to accounting systems like GP or QuickBooks or or Sage, for example, all the invoice-related information and accounting details. And then the rest of the process includes business intelligence, which we mentioned before. So CRM, reporting, dashboards, being able to, as I said, see that actionable data in real time. Look at your actual versus budget in the CRM job view, for example, as well. But in terms of this workflow, that's the sort of the complete workflow we saw on the slide. The submission of the order, the creation of the order in this case automatically in Avanti, pushing that order all the way through to production, and then collecting the costs. And that forms what we refer to as the touchless workflow. So we have customers that accept an order through, or maybe the order comes in at 2 a.m. The order, because all the setup is complete, all the mapping is complete, the levels and layers of automation are turned on. It's released the order automatically to create the job. It's sent the jobs to production. The printer or the DFE has picked that job up, printed it. It's sent back the status to the Avanti system, including inventory usage and status and time used to collect actual costs without the use of shop floor data collection in that case. And the operator comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's on the tray. And the job is complete, ready to ship. Oh, the touchless workflow is really the end goal of that workflow we showed in the slide previously, to be able to automate that completely without any touches, eliminating all those breakpoints, all that manual entry within the entire production workflow. And of course, being able to bill, consolidate, ship, and consolidate shipping and batch ship as well. Okay.
Perfect.
So at this point, I will. Yep, Robert. I'll turn it back to you for closing statements and Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I know, folks, I want to be cognizant of everyone's time, so we will go ahead and I'll open it up for the Q&A just briefly. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and enter those into the chat. Did anyone have any questions for us today? I know it can be kind of a challenging topic to ask a question about. A lot of this, and really where we were driving to today, is the opportunity to speak with you in a one-on-one engagement. It really gives us the opportunity to learn more about your operations and kind of share all of the knowledge that we've acquired over the years as to how we can improve and streamline these operations. Brian, I didn't, as I'm presenting, I can't see anyone in the chat. Has anyone answered a question or presented a question in the chat?
No, they have not.
Okay, that's no problem at all. What we would like to do today then is I'd like to go ahead and wrap up with some key takeaways. We've looked at quite a bit of information. I know that was a lot to digest during the demonstration, but there's a lot of value. And I want to kind of condense that down into 4 real bullet points here. When we look at being able to measure the operational value of combining these 2 technology stacks, what we're really focusing on is the automation of your workflow, being able to consistently deliver your brand and your message, regardless of the format, whether that be digital or print, really remove unneeded bottlenecks, improve efficiency, reduce the amount of time spent on manual tasks. We saw that displayed really well, especially when Josh was talking about the different automation points. And we kind of wrap with, obviously, this is going to be a bottom line improvement to your overall operations, right? At the end of the day, we'd like the opportunity to partner with you and your organization and really help you drive your technology roadmap forward when we look at the level of integration that you can deploy within your organization. So with that, like I said, I know we're coming up here on time. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. There's our contact information for MarcomCentral as well as for Avanti. I also did want to let everybody know we will be sending out a copy of this recording. So if you'd like to share that with any other colleagues or refer back to it, you'll have the opportunity to do so. Before we part ways today, I'd really like to thank everybody for taking the time to carve out a little bit and meet with us. Hopefully you found the presentation valuable. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.